All right, guys. So we have some climate crisis stuff to cover, a few negative pieces, and then I did manage to find a positive climate piece to bring you all. So we'll get to that in just a few here, but first we got to get through historic droughts and other climate catastrophes. We'll start here with a piece in Reuters by Emma Farge. Horn of Africa on track for fifth failed rainy season, according to the WMO. The worst drought in the Horn of Africa in more than 40 years looks almost certain to persist after the World Meteorological Organization said on Friday that forecasts for October-December show a high chance of drier than average conditions. The latest outlook confirms the fears of aid agencies, which have been warning for months about the worsening consequences of the drought for Ethiopia, Somalia, and parts of Kenya, including a risk of another famine in Somalia following one there a decade ago that killed hundreds of thousands of people. Quote, sadly, our models show with a high degree of confidence that we are entering the fifth consecutive failed rainy season in the Horn of Africa, says Ghalid Artan, director of the IGAD Climate Prediction and Application Center, the WMO's regional climate center for East Africa. Quote, in Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia, we are on the brink of an unprecedented humanitarian catastrophe, he added. The drought has coincided with a global rise in food and fuel prices, pushed up by the war in Ukraine that has hit parts of Africa hardest. The World Health Organization says over 80 million people in the 7 countries spanning the region, Djibouti, Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia, South Sudan, Sudan, and Uganda, are estimated to be food insecure. So we are seeing the results of the climate crisis. I also just want to briefly say the way that Reuters presents inflation there is, as we literally just covered, completely and totally incorrect, and they should be ashamed to do so as a trusted journalistic outlet. If you don't mention corporate price gouging when you talk about inflation and you instead decide to blame it on other things, you are completely lying to your readers. But this drought, absolutely catastrophic, 5th year in a row, and leading to famine in, I believe they said, 7 different countries in East Africa. So more results of the climate catastrophe that we have created. Another drought going on in China. This also Reuters, Thomas Peter, and oh boy, you guys, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name. I am so sorry. Chinese drillers work 15-hour days building wells in drought-hit Jiangxi. Teams of drillers are working long hours to build wells to fight a devastating drought sweeping parts of China. Farmers in Zhujiang City in the country's central Jiangxi province told Reuters on Saturday. Quote, these villages, all of them are particularly dry, said Gao Pucha, 42, who led one drilling team in Dashan village in Zhujiang. When we got the notice to drill wells, we got up early and worked late, more than 15 hours a day. In another nearby village, a 72-year-old man, surnamed Chen, scored the fields for ears of rice left over from the paddy harvester to take home and feed to his chickens. Quote, sesame, corn, sweet potatoes, cotton in the dry lands are all dried up, Chen told Reuters. Chen added that only the rice fields could be filled with water from nearby reservoirs, so they've just filled them with a little bit of water, and it was a little bit better. So crops going dry in China, they're forced to dig wells to deal with this drought. We're seeing historic droughts all over the world. Another, consequence of the climate catastrophe that we have created. And we have one more for you. This one's in the New York Times. It's by April Rubin. The latest find as water levels fall. Dinosaur tracks in Texas. Look at how they present this, you guys. Look at how they present this. It's a fucking drought, and they're like, we found some dinosaur footprints. Now, I grant you, that's kind of cool. That belongs further in the article than major drought. Anyhow, as a punishing drought grips parts of the world this summer, bodies of water have been drying up, exposing submerged World War II relics in Europe, several sets of human lakes in Lake Mead outside Las Vegas, and even an entire village in Spain. The latest find as water levels fall, dinosaur tracks in Texas. You guys just read that paragraph back to yourself, and again, it's cool. You guys go study the dinosaur tracks. I hope scientists are all over that, right? But you're talking about a fucking historic drought all over the world, and you just casually list off all of these places that are going dry before talking about what you really wanted to get to, which was dinosaur tracks. I just think that's absolutely absurd. So shame on the New York Times for that, but I just wanted to bring it up to point out we're seeing these historic droughts in Africa, in China, in Texas, in Nevada, all over the place, and it is one of the many results of the climate catastrophe. This in The Lever, it's by Ricardo Gomez. You love to see it. I told you guys I had a slightly positive story to finish out this climate segment with. A clean energy future might not be far away. Also, California to ban gas-powered cars. The country's first freshwater wind farm gets back on track, and scientists discover a process to destroy forever chemicals. Good things are happening. A new renewable energy study sets the record straight. Switching to 100% renewable energy is far more attainable than imagined and could immediately reduce energy prices. Also, California will ban the sale of new gas-powered vehicles by 2035. By the way, I don't know if it's my city or my state, but they're doing the same thing, 2035. I know that's a ways down the road, and again, there's a lot to condemn there, but banning the sale of gas-powered cars, I think, is obviously a necessary thing considering the direction that we are headed. The U.S.'s first freshwater wind farm will finally get built, and scientists discover a process of destroying forever chemicals. All this and much more in this week's edition of You Love to See It. So, I just wanted to point out there are some good things that are happening in the climate world, and I hope that we will continue to make scientific advancements to try to address this catastrophe, but obviously the most important thing is to pursue avenues via public policy to actually address the cause of the problem, right? What's the saying? If you want to, if you're digging a hole and you want to fill it in, the first thing you got to do is stop fucking digging. So, that's what we need to do first, and then we need to figure out how we're going to dig ourselves out of the hole that we have already created. So I just, I found it inspiring that there are at least a few. I feel like every time I cover this, I always mention, this is always such a dark topic. There's never anything positive when I talk about the climate. So I was grateful to find one piece that was somewhat positive, and I hope you all will continue to make noise about this issue and push in whatever ways you can for a more sustainable future and, public policies that actually seek to address this catastrophe that we have created.